Joni Mitchell's music has touched hearts worldwide, bringing her 11 Grammys and countless accolades. Yet, behind the spotlight, her life was far from perfect. From the risk of losing her limbs to the heartbreak of losing 2 daughters, Joni faced trials that few knew about. Join us as we uncover the story of Joni Mitchell's life, marked by resilience and pain. Early life. The name Joni Mitchell has resonated throughout the entertainment industry for decades. Born as Roberta Joan Anderson on November 7, 1943, in Fort Macleod, Alberta, she came from a family with deep roots in Scotland, Ireland, and Norway. Her mother, Myrtle Marguerite, worked as a teacher, while her father, William Andrew, was a pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force. Joni's early years were marked by frequent moves due to her father's job, especially during the turbulent times of World War II. This constant relocation made stability a rare luxury in her childhood. When she was just 9 years old, Joni's life took an alarming turn when she contracted polio and was hospitalized. The doctors warned her family that she might never walk again. Spending Christmas in a hospital bed was far from what any child would wish for. Yet, Joni's spirit stayed unbroken. She filled the ward with Christmas carols, singing with such enthusiasm that even the nurses were taken aback. This experience revealed her love for performing and the comfort it brought her. After the war and her long recovery, the family settled in various places across Canada, including Maidstone and North Battleford in Saskatchewan. The constant moving never dimmed Joni's appreciation for small-town life. She later reflected on these times in her music, with songs like Song for Sharon capturing the essence of her upbringing. When she turned 11, her family relocated to Saskatoon, which Joni would always consider her true hometown. The city left a lasting mark on her and became a place she cherished deeply in her heart. School was a struggle for Joni Mitchell. While other kids found joy in reading and math, Joni felt out of place. Her real love was for painting and anything creative. In a 1979 interview with Rolling Stone, she reflected on school, saying, "The way I saw the educational system from an early age was that it taught you what to think, not how to think." But even though she didn't connect with traditional academics, Joni's passion for art and creativity ran deep. She dreamed of singing, dancing, and anything that let her spirit soar. She tried learning classical piano for a while, but it wasn't until she met Mr. Kresman, a special teacher, that her true creative fire was sparked. He encouraged her to write poetry, and she later dedicated her first album to him in gratitude. Despite her creative passions, Joni found it hard to focus in school. She eventually dropped out in 12th grade and fell in with a rough crowd. Some of these friends were heading down dangerous paths, getting into serious trouble. Realizing that a life of crime was far from glamorous, and wanting to avoid ending up in jail, Joni made the decision to pull herself away from those influences and aim for a better path. Determined to finish her education, she went back to school and took summer classes to catch up. Earning her high school diploma was a significant achievement for her and allowed her to finally focus on what she loved most: painting. For Joni, painting was essential to keeping her creativity alive. She once said, "My talent would have burnt out long ago, I think, as a writer or musician, if it wasn't for the painting." It was her lifeline, something that kept her inspired and fueled her music. Painting wasn't just a hobby for her, it was a source of energy that kept her art flourishing. The life that could have been. After finishing high school in Saskatoon, Joni Mitchell took the next step by enrolling at Saskatoon Technical College. There, she studied under Henry Bonley, a painter known for his emotional and expressive style. His approach to art spoke to Joni's creative spirit. Wanting to explore more, she moved to Calgary to attend the Alberta College of Art. It was a bold move, taking her away from her family, but she felt it was the right choice. However, Life in Calgary didn't unfold the way she imagined. To make ends meet, Joni worked as a waitress and did modeling for department stores. Although she showed promise as a student, the school's rigid focus on technical skill over true creativity left her frustrated. Joni found herself resisting the labels of being either a commercial artist or a fine artist. The constraints stifled her, and at 20, she made the tough decision to leave college after just 1 year. This choice disappointed her parents, who had always valued education, especially given their experiences during the Great Depression. Despite their disappointment, Joni felt she needed to follow her own direction, even if it meant going against what her parents wanted. Looking back on her time in art school, Joni once admitted, "I had to undo some of my art education. It took me a long time to find my true self as a painter because I was taught poorly in that area." Those early struggles only strengthened her determination to carve out her own path, even if it meant stepping away from formal schooling to chase her own vision of creativity. Joni's journey to stardom. Even after leaving art school, Joni Mitchell never let go of her dreams. She kept her passion for music alive, performing folk songs wherever she could. At college events and local venues, she landed a gig at the Depression Coffee House in Calgary, where she sang heartfelt, melancholic songs that touched the audience, even though she only made $1 a week. On weekends, she performed at hootenannies and even managed to appear on Calgary's TV and radio programs. But deep down, Joni wanted more for herself. At 20, she made a life-changing decision. She told her mother that she was heading to Toronto to become a folk singer. Leaving her home in Western Canada for the first time, she set out for Ontario. On the 3-day train journey to Toronto, inspiration struck, and she wrote her very first song, Day After Day. This marked the true beginning of her songwriting. Along the way, she stopped at the Mariposa Folk Festival to see Buffy Sainte-Marie, an artist she greatly admired. Just a year later, Joni would be performing at that same festival, and eventually, Buffy would be singing her songs. Arriving in Toronto, Joni faced immediate obstacles. To join the Musicians Union and perform at the bigger venues, she needed $200, money she didn't have. She played at smaller spots like the Half Beat and the Village Corner in Yorkville, a warm and artsy Toronto neighborhood. Her performances were often held in church basements and YMCA halls where union membership wasn't required. Despite her tireless efforts, breaking into the top folk clubs in Toronto proved difficult. With money running low, Joni turned to street performances, playing her guitar and singing for passers-by. But the small earnings weren't enough to sustain her. To survive, she took a job at a department store, working in the women's clothing section. Living on a tight budget, she rented a modest room in a boarding house where, by chance, she lived across the hall from a poet named Duke Redbird. Even though life in Toronto was challenging and her future uncertain, Joni clung to her dreams. But life had surprises in store, ready to shake things up when she least expected it. The tough decision that Joni had to make. In late 1964, Joni Mitchell discovered she was pregnant. The father was her former boyfriend, Brad McMath, who was from Calgary. When Brad found out, he abandoned her, leaving Joni alone in a drafty attic room with winter fast approaching and no money to her name. The only source of warmth she had was a small fireplace. The place was worn down, with broken banisters and signs of previous tenants everywhere. In February 1965, Joni gave birth to her daughter, Kelly Dale Anderson. Despite her deep love for her baby, Joni realized she couldn't provide the life her daughter deserved. Heartbroken, she made the difficult decision to place her daughter for adoption. It was a secret she carried with her for many years. Not long after her daughter was born, Joni returned to what kept her going, her music. She went back to performing in Yorkville, often singing with her friend Vicki Taylor. The duo performed Joni's original songs, showcasing her distinctive guitar tunings that set her apart from other musicians. By March and April of that year, Joni secured a job at the Penny Farthing, a folk club in Toronto. It was here she met Chuck Mitchell, a folk singer from Michigan. Chuck was instantly drawn to Joni's talent and recognized the potential in her songs. He promised to help her break into the music scene in the United States, giving her a chance to expand her reach beyond Canadian audiences. In late April 1965, Joni made a big move. She left Canada for the first time and headed to the US with Chuck by her side. The two began performing together, sharing stages and making music. Just a few months later, in June, Joni, at 21, married Chuck in a formal ceremony held in his hometown. Joni Mitchell crafted her own wedding dress and even made the bridesmaids' dresses, as money was tight. She walked down the aisle clutching a bouquet of daisies, feeling a mix of hope and determination. After their wedding, Joni and Chuck settled in Detroit's Cass Corridor. They spent their time performing at various spots, coffee houses, bars, and small venues, bringing their music to anyone willing to listen. While living in Detroit, Joni picked up new guitar techniques from fellow musician Eric Anderson and made a few appearances on a local TV show called Let's Sing Out. However, her marriage to Chuck Mitchell was rocky from the start. Joni later spoke openly about their union, admitting it was more about practicality than romance. She once revealed in a 1997 interview with the Los Angeles Times that the main reason for the marriage was to create stability for her daughter. 1 month into the marriage, he chickened out, and I chickened out. The marriage had no basis except to provide a home for the baby, she said. Their relationship had deeper issues. Chuck, being older and more educated, often made Joni feel lesser in comparison. According to David Yaffe's biography, Reckless Daughter, a portrait of Joni Mitchell. Logically, she felt uneducated next to him. As Joni's music career took off and her songwriting gained recognition, Chuck's insecurities grew. He began to feel overshadowed by her talent and success. The marriage unraveled, and by early 1967, Joni and Chuck were divorced. After the split, Joni moved to New York City to pursue her music on her own. She toured up and down the East Coast, performing in cities like Philadelphia, Boston, and even Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Her unique approach to songwriting and her impressive guitar skills began to capture attention. It was clear that Joni was on the path to becoming a star. A star is born. Joni Mitchell's journey led her to cross paths with Tom Rush, a well-known folk singer. He was captivated by her songwriting, especially the song Urge for Going. Tom was so taken with it that he wanted Judy Collins, a prominent figure in the folk music scene, to hear it. But at first, Judy wasn't interested, so Tom decided to record it himself. Not long after, country singer George Hamilton IV heard Tom's version and was so moved that he recorded his own, which turned into a hit in the country charts. As time went on, more musicians discovered Joni's work. Buffy Sainte-Marie started singing The Circle Game, while Dave Van Ronk performed Both Sides Now. Eventually, Judy Collins changed her mind and recorded Both Sides Now, which became a major success for her. She also included Joni's Michael from Mountains on her 1967 album Wildflowers. Collins even covered Chelsea Morning, making it more widely known than Joni's own version. Mitchell's music began to spread, resonating with audiences and fellow artists alike. In 1967, during a performance at the Gaslight South, a club in Coconut Grove, Florida, Joni caught the attention of David Crosby. He was captivated by her talent and presence and knew instantly that she deserved a larger platform. Determined to help, Crosby brought her to Los Angeles and introduced her to his network. It wasn't long before she drew the interest of Elliot Roberts, who would go on to become an influential figure in her career. Soon after, Joni was signed to Reprise Records, thanks to talent scout Andy Wickham. Crosby played a key role in persuading Reprise to let Joni record her debut album on her own terms. He made sure she retained her unique style, free from the folk rock trends that were dominating at the time. This allowed Joni to make an album that truly reflected her voice and artistry. In March 1968, Joni Mitchell's debut album, titled Song to a Seagull, or simply Joni Mitchell, was released by Reprise Records. David Crosby, who had helped her land the record deal, was credited as the producer. This marked the true beginning of Joni's rise to fame. After her debut, she didn't pause. She hit the road, performing for audiences far and wide, sharing her music with an ever-growing fan base. The tour was a success, building anticipation for what she would create next. By April 1969, Joni released her second album, Clouds. This record featured her own renditions of songs that other artists had previously covered, like Chelsea Morning, Both Sides Now, and Tin Angel. What made Joni's albums unique was that she didn't just sing. She also painted the cover art herself. The cover of Clouds even included a self-portrait, blending her passions for both painting and music. This artistic touch would become a signature element of her albums throughout her career, showcasing her talent with both sound and visual art. In March 1970, Joni's hard work paid off when Clouds earned her a Grammy Award for Best Folk Performance. As the 1970s unfolded, her life became a whirlwind of artistic growth and romantic entanglements. She first had a relationship with David Crosby, and later she fell for Graham Nash, another member of Crosby's band. At one point, she even considered marrying Nash, but the relationship didn't last. With fame came challenges. Joni found herself dealing with the pressures and temptations of success. During Bob Dylan's Rolling Thunder Revue tour in 1975, she developed a cocaine habit. This addiction fueled her creative process, contributing to the writing of her 1976 album, Hejira. However, it came at a cost. The addiction led to years of battling insomnia and struggling with its effects. A personal reflection in music. In 1971, Joni Mitchell released one of her most powerful albums, Blue. This record captured the emotional highs and lows of her life. It was deeply intimate, delving into her battles with depression, broken relationships, and the lingering pain of giving up her child. Each song on the album laid bare her emotions, revealing the raw complexities of her experiences. While creating Blue, Joni felt an overwhelming sense of empathy, almost as if she could see right into people's souls and uncover their deepest pains and secrets. This heightened awareness left her feeling like she was coming apart inside. She channeled those emotions into the music, especially in the haunting title track, Blue. Yet, performing such deeply personal songs night after night wore on her. She later confessed that she felt lost and unsure of her identity during this time. "It's something many people experience," she said, "but for me, it happened in the making of Blue." A love story without a happy ending. After years devoted to her music, Joni Mitchell found love again during the creation of her 11th album, Wild Things Run Fast. It was during this period that she met bassist Larry Klein, who would become a key figure in shaping the album's sound. Their professional partnership quickly evolved into romance, and they married the same year. The two were a strong team, with Larry co-producing Joni's next project, Dog Eat Dog, in 1985. This album kept the pop direction of Wild Things Run Fast, but showed a more polished collaboration between them. However, their relationship faced challenges even as they created together. At the age of 42, Joni became pregnant, but sadly, she suffered a miscarriage in the first trimester. This tragedy left her heartbroken. During this difficult time, Larry decided to prioritize his professional obligations over supporting Joni through her grief. This choice put a significant strain on their marriage, ultimately contributing to their separation and eventual divorce in 1994. Despite their creative synergy, their story didn't have the happy ending they might have hoped for. In 1993, Joni Mitchell's life took an unexpected turn. A former roommate from her art school days shared with a magazine that Mitchell had a daughter she had given up for adoption many years earlier. This revelation shocked both the public and Joni herself. In an interview with CBC, she opened up about that difficult chapter and rejected a widely held belief. "I see it written over and over that I gave up my daughter to further my career. That's just not true. There was no career." Although she hadn't openly discussed it before, hints of her experience were woven into her music. In the 1960s, she wrote Little Green, a song that appeared on her 1971 album, Blue, touching on the deep pain of letting her child go. Later, in the Chinese Cafe from her 1982 album, Wild Things Run Fast, she sang about her child being a stranger and her inability to raise her. At the time, these lyrics went unnoticed by most listeners. Although her marriage to Larry Klein had ended, their artistic collaboration continued. After going through tough times, Joni made a powerful comeback with her 1994 album, Turbulent Indigo, which won a Grammy. This album marked the end of her 12-year marriage to Klein, who also contributed as a producer. Around this period, critics began to notice changes in her voice, especially when she performed older songs. Joni acknowledged these changes, admitting she had trouble hitting certain notes. While many attributed this to her smoking, Joni believed it was due to other factors, like vocal nodules, a compressed larynx, and lingering effects from her childhood polio. She embraced her evolving voice, describing it as a more expressive and interesting alto range as she aged. In 1997, Joni's daughter, who had been renamed Kyloren Gibb, began searching for her biological parents. Their reunion was emotional and complicated. Joni felt immense joy at seeing her daughter, but also had to face the painful memories it brought up. After they reconnected, Joni found herself stepping back from songwriting, realizing how much her daughter's birth and adoption had shaped her life and art. In 2001, their relationship hit a breaking point when a heated argument between them led to a physical altercation, with reports of Joni slapping Kyloren. This incident created a rift, and they became estranged. Over time, Joni and Kyloren began to rebuild their relationship. By the following decade, they were on the road to healing. In a 2013 interview with the Toronto Star, Joni reflected on how far they had come. "She was pretty rough on me and brought my granddaughter into it, but we've worked through all of that. We laughed about the little tricks we played and the ways we could hurt each other. That's all behind us now." The legend's health struggles. For years, Joni Mitchell has dealt with the challenges of Morgellons disease, a condition that remains mysterious and debated. According to the Mayo Clinic, Morgellons is described as a controversial skin condition where tiny fibers or particles emerge from sores. There is ongoing disagreement in the medical community about whether it should be recognized as a legitimate disease. In a 2009 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Joni shared her experience. "I have this strange, incurable condition that feels like it's from another world. Fibers in all sorts of colors come out of my skin like mushrooms after a rain. No one can identify them as animal, vegetable, or mineral." Joni chose to step back from the spotlight to raise awareness about Morgellons and support those who were suffering from it. But life threw her another challenge. In March 2015, she was found unconscious at her home in Los Angeles after a brain aneurysm rupture. The recovery process was grueling, requiring daily rehab and physical therapy. After some time, Joni took an important step by making her first public appearance at a Chick Corea concert in Los Angeles in August 2016. This marked a significant moment in her journey. She appeared at a few more events, and by November 2018, David Crosby shared that she was making strides in her recovery, even relearning how to walk. Despite the serious health challenges she has faced over the years, there was renewed hope for her recovery. James Taylor, a longtime friend and collaborator, expressed his optimism during an early 2020 interview with The Guardian. "She's coming back, which is incredible to see. And I wonder what she has to tell us about this experience," he said. Joni Mitchell's influence on the music world remains profound. Artists such as Taylor Swift, Prince, Ellie Goulding, and Harry Styles have all cited her as an inspiration. Her music has a way of resonating deeply with listeners, and it's clear that her legacy will endure for generations to come.